everyone, it's George from Blockchain TXP, and today is the 30th of May 2023. Now, the global cryptocurrency market is not looking good, but what happened yesterday is that the price of Bitcoin did actually pump up and it did cross the $28,000 mark. And if you actually looked at the global cryptocurrency market, most of them were looking green, but unfortunately, the prices of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have fallen down once again. So we'll definitely touch base on that when we're looking at the prices of Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and quite a lot of other. Now guys, there is this massive news circulating from the Bank of Japan, and that is to do with central bank digital currency. And look guys, in 2023 and moving forwards, central bank digital currencies are definitely going to take a lot of momentum. So I'll go ahead and explain what the news is all about. And in the month of June, as a matter of fact, on the 2nd of June, I do have an event called a central bank digital currency, the basics, the threats to freedom and its role in the metaverse. So please feel free to check it out. The registration is completely free of cost. Now in today's episode, we're also going to be discussing some news regarding Reddit, and looks like they've reached a new milestone and roughly around $32 million in NFT sales have been done by Reddit. So definitely positive news. And I very specifically remember guys, I think it was towards the end of 2021 or early 2022 where Reddit did actually get into the NFT game, and there are a couple of podcasts with the founder and CEO of Reddit as well. So we'll definitely touch base on what the news is all about. And guys, there's some drama going on regarding the SEC once again, and looks like Gemini Trust Company and Genesis Global has filed a court document just few days ago against the US Security Exchange Commission. So it looks like there's a lot of drama going on. So we'll definitely uncover that news in today's episode. And guys, like we do in every Crypto and Coffee Date podcast, we're going to be discussing two news from Dubai, UAE and the Middle East. And the first news, which I very briefly touched base upon yesterday, and that is regarding Bitcoin Tower. And news is circulating not just in the cryptocurrency world, but also in mainstream media, particularly in Dubai, regarding the Bitcoin Towers. So I'll go ahead and share my thoughts and opinions on that. And the second news, guys, is regarding artificial intelligence. And the news is that Abu Dhabi makes its Falcon 40B AI model open source. So I'll go ahead and explain what that news is all about. And look guys, going forward, I very strongly feel that artificial intelligence is definitely going to be part of our daily lives. Now it is scary, but scary good. So quite a lot to cover in today's episode. So let's kick start with it right away. Welcome to the Crypto and Coffee Date, the daily podcast that keeps you up to date on all latest developments in the world of cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and NFTs. Join us Monday to Friday as you kick off your day with a cup of coffee and a deep dive into the exciting and rapidly evolving world of digital assets. We'll cover the latest news and trends in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space, as well as delve into the growing world of NFTs or non-fungible tokens and metaverse. Plus, we'll keep you updated on the latest developments from Dubai, UAE and the wider Middle East region. Whether you're a seasoned crypto enthusiast or just getting started, Crypto and Coffee a Day has something for you. Our expert host will provide insight and analysis on the most important topics in the industry and help you stay up to date on the latest developments. We'll bring you interviews with leading figures in the crypto and blockchain space and explore the ways in which these technologies are changing the world around us, from the impact on traditional financial systems to the potential for revolutionizing industries and transforming societies. We'll cover it all on Crypto and Coffee a Day. So tune in and join us for a daily dose of Crypto and Coffee a Day, and let's stay ahead of the curve together. We'll start your day off right with the most important news and insights from the world of cryptocurrency, blockchain and the metaverse, and help you navigate this exciting and rapidly evolving landscape. In Crypto and Coffee a Day, the daily podcast covers the latest developments in the world of cryptocurrency, blockchain and the metaverse. We'll also bring you updates on the latest news from Dubai, UAE and wider Middle East region. This also includes a range of topics such as developments in the local and blockchain industry, including new projects and initiatives, regulatory updates, and policies related to cryptocurrency and blockchain in the region, local and regional events and conferences focused on crypto and blockchain, interviews with leading figures in Dubai, UAE and Middle East crypto and blockchain community, coverage of any significant news or events related to cryptocurrency and blockchain in the region. By covering these local and regional developments, in addition to the wider world of cryptocurrency and blockchain, Crypto and Coffee a Day aims to provide a comprehensive overview of the industry and its impact on the Dubai, UAE and Middle East region. Now before we kickstart today's episode, I have an important message. So check this out. Shalhoub Group, a luxury retailer and distributor which is headquartered in Dubai, are getting into the NFT game. And here's the deal, guys. They are not just getting into the NFT and metaverse space, they are going to be shaping the NFT metaverse and Web 3.0 space, which I believe is excellent not just for Dubai and UAE, but also for the global cryptocurrency community as well. And guys, Shalhoub Group's Web 3.0 sneaker brand called Soulmates revealed their first NFT collection on the 12th of April. Now, what is really interesting is that it's called as Soulmates, so it's spelled as S for sugar, O for orange, L for Larry. Now, instead of E, they've replaced it with Web3, and it is the number 3, mates.xyz. And guys, listen, Shalhoub Group has over half a century's worth of experience in luxury goods, and them getting into the NFT space is a massive deal. Now, if you're a sneakerhead, you definitely need to check out soulmates.xyz. And once again, guys, the number is 3 instead of an E. It has all the information, and in the show notes below, you'll get all the information. And listen, guys, if you want to be an early adopter, you can also pre-mint it at www.premint.xyz/soulmates. So definitely check it out. And they have a Discord community as well. And guys, Nick, who is the head of corporate innovation at Shalhoub Group and also the co-founder of Soulmates, has a WhatsApp group where he constantly provides updates in the area of NFTs, Metaverse and Web 3.0. So guys, check out soulmates.xyz and be part of the Soulmates OG NFT that is definitely going to shape the industry. Next, Startup OI is global one tech platform for tech. It offers global high-paying tech jobs with flexibility in working time and location, global free tech events, and tech networks to connect with global like-minded engineers. A brilliant platform to listen to the tech experts in Metaverse and to grab their insights. Now listen, all you have to do is download the app Startup OI. If you're using an Android version, go to Google Store and App Store for iOS devices. Alternatively, you can also click on the show notes below to download Startup OI. Next, guys, listen, if you're into fitness, if you're into adventure, if you want to do something wild but still want to keep your health in check, there is a new podcast in town, a podcast focusing on obstacle course race in the Middle East. The podcast is called the Race Pace Podcast. So check out the Race Pace Podcast across all leading platforms. And the Race Pace Podcast is a peer-to-peer community-driven podcast where they talk all about obstacle course race in the Middle East, from Sandstorm to Spartan Race, from Tough Mudder to Desert Warrior Challenge, and also the Government Gov Games, and quite a lot more. The podcast has interviews with athletes locally and internationally to get inside scoop on how athletes prepare for obstacle course race. In the podcast, they also talk about interesting stories on why they are motivated to do obstacle course race. And that's not all. They also plan to release 7 NFTs. And these NFTs are no ordinary. These NFTs will represent every emirate in the UAE. And listen, guys, these NFTs are going to be absolutely massive. So do one thing, go to Spotify, go to iTunes, go to any leading podcasting platform and search for Rise in the Obstacle Course Race podcast. And finally, guys, not your keys, not your crypto. If you have dabbled with cryptocurrencies and now are seriously getting to protect your cryptocurrencies, there is no better way to protect it by using a hardware wallet. And this is where Ledger Wallet kicks in. And Ledger Wallets are hardware cryptocurrency wallets made by Ledger, a company headquartered in Paris, France. And Ledger's hardware wallets are multi-currency wallets that are used to store private keys for cryptocurrencies offline. And Ledger offers 2 hardware wallets, the Ledger Nano and Ledger Nano X wallets. They are world-class experts with extensive crypto security backgrounds. They continuously look for vulnerabilities in Ledger products in a constant effort to improve the level of security. Now, in today's world, securing these digital assets is a critical challenge, and this is where Ledger kicks in. So click the link below to buy your hardware wallet and support this podcast. It is a brilliant way to support this podcast. So what are you waiting for? The link is in the show notes below.
Now, guys, since you've taken care of that, let's kickstart by looking at the global cryptocurrency market. Now, as of today, the global cryptocurrency market is at $1.15 trillion. And what happened a few hours ago is the global cryptocurrency market did actually cross the $1.17 trillion mark. Now, really, I'm not sure. The reason why the prices pumped up was because of Kevin McCarthy and left-leaning administration Joe Biden working to go ahead and increase the debt limit, and because of that, the market actually eased, and that could be one of the reasons why the prices did actually pump up. Now we still have to wait for a few more days for full finality and the voting in order to take place. Now I'm pretty much sure once that news is officially out, the market is definitely going to get a breather, and that will definitely have a positive impact on the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Now since the last 24 hours, guys, it is marginally up by 0.04%. The total crypto market volume of the last 24 hours is at $35.28 billion. This once again, guys, is absolutely ridiculous number, and you also need to keep in mind this number is despite an increase of 33.84% since the last 24 hours. The volume of DeFi is once again ridiculously bad, and it is at $2.58 billion, and the total value locked is $47.96 billion. And just to give you a refresher, guys, on 4th of January 2022, the total value locked was $240 billion, and in 2022, the total value locked did actually go down to $35 billion. So absolutely ridiculous. The Lido is still dominating, and its total value locked is at $13.13 billion. And so far as its dominance is concerned, Lido dominates with 27.39%, and DeFi, guys, accounts for 7.30% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. Now let's look at the 24-hour volume of DeFi protocols. It's no surprise that Uniswap is number one, and $851.76 million is its volume. PancakeSwap is number second with $321.1 million, followed by Trader Joe at $117.2 million, followed by Dodo at $112.11 million, and Core Finance, guys, at $84.26 million. Now, guys, are you using any of these exchanges? And I don't mean by holding these tokens. My question is, are you using any of these decentralized exchanges? If you do, mention them in the comments below. What I'm really curious to find out is what your user experience is like when you're using decentralized exchanges in comparison to, let's say, centralized exchange. And few weeks ago, guys, I did mention in my Crypto and Coffee Date podcast that Uniswap did actually do a survey, and one of the reasons why decentralized exchanges or DeFi protocols hasn't kicked off is only because of terrible user experience. I 100% agree to that. Now, guys, let's look at the volume of stablecoins. Once again, guys, the number is ridiculously bad. It is at $32.42 billion, and despite it being ridiculously low, it is still accounting for 91.92% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. So it looks like stablecoins, despite the volume being low, is turning out to be a safe haven during times of financial crisis, even during times of geopolitical situation. Now, out of this $32.42 billion, Tether USDT is accounting for $23.57 billion, Circle USDC at $3.05 billion, and Binance BUSD, guys, is doing absolutely terrible, and the volume is $1.88 billion. And in yesterday's episode, I did talk about Binance BUSD's market cap, which has gone down from $16 billion to almost $5 billion, and I wouldn't be surprised in the next few maybe weeks, it just might go well below the $5 billion mark as well. Now let's look at the market cap, 24-hour trading volume and dominance between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now Bitcoin's market cap is $535 billion, Ethereum is at $227 billion, but if you look at the 24-hour trading volume, guys, the volume is ridiculously bad, and it is rather same since 2023. Bitcoin's 24-hour trading volume is $15.8 billion, whereas Ethereum is $6.44 billion. The dominance also surprisingly has been consistent in 2023. Bitcoin's dominance is 46.50%, whereas Ethereum is 19.70%. Now in today's episode, guys, what I'm going to be doing is looking at the smart contract platform's market cap, and Ethereum is clearly an outlier with $227 billion, followed by Binance BNB, $48.52 billion, and Cardano, guys, is at $13.21 billion. Now my big question is, guys, let's say once central bank digital currency goes mainstream, and let's say in the near future, once Metaverse goes mainstream, do you think Cardano or any other protocol will be in the top 3? I definitely do think so. I would be really curious to check if there is any new protocol designed and catered only to Metaverse, and using artificial intelligence, we can create a completely new smart contracting platform. Now, guys, let's look at privacy coins. And guys, this week what I'm going to be doing is, before we head into the main news, I'm going to be giving you details of each protocol. In yesterday's podcast, we did talk about Mask Network. In today's podcast, I'm going to be discussing Monero. But before that, let me quickly run through the market cap of the top 3 privacy coins. Monero is clearly an outlier and its market cap is $2.81 billion. Mask Network is $366 million and Zcash is $289 million. Now listen guys, if you truly want to understand what cryptocurrencies are, what I'd really recommend you to do is make sure you truly look at what Monero is. You could also say that Monero is everything what Bitcoin intended to be, barring the price of Monero XRM, which is at $154.21. What you truly need to understand is the technology behind it. And guys, in today's episode, I'll go ahead and briefly explain what is Monero, the history of Monero, and what are the resources you can find out in order to get more information regarding Monero. Now, as of today, it is number 23rd via CoinMarketCap, and the website, guys, to find out all information regarding Monero is getmonero.org. So let me very briefly run through you guys what Monero is. And as I said earlier, guys, Monero is probably everything what Bitcoin intended to be, and Monero was officially launched in 2014, and its goal is pretty simple: to allow transactions to take place privately with anonymity. Even though, guys, it's commonly thought that Bitcoin can conceal a person's identity, that is not true. It's often easy to trace payments back to the original source because blockchains essentially are transparent, and that is one of the features of open blockchain. But on the other hand, XRM or Monero is designed to obscure senders and recipients alike through the use of advanced cryptography. Now guys, you need to understand that the team behind Monero says privacy and security are the biggest priorities, with ease of use and efficiency coming second. It aims to provide protection to all users, irrespective of how technologically competent they are. And guys, what I'd really urge you to do is listen to every Bitcoin maximalist. One thing that they would agree upon is, so far as fungibility aspect is concerned, Monero is 100% the king. And one thing you need to understand, guys, overall XRM or Monero aims to allow payments to be made quickly and inexpensively without the fear of censorship. And you need to find out who the founders of Monero are, and some are saying maybe even Satoshi Nakamoto was one of the inventors of Monero, and 7 developers were initially involved in creating Monero. 5 of them have decided to be anonymous, so it's going to be really interesting to see if you truly find out who the creators of Monero is. And Monero or XRM's origins can be traced back to Bitcoin, which was originally the so-called the Genesis. The Bitcoin had been forked, and that's how we have Monero. Now, Bitcoin essentially was a privacy-focused and decentralized cryptocurrency that was launched way back in 2012. 2 years later, a member on Bitcoin forum, only known as Thankful for Today, forked the Bitcoin's codebase, and Monero was born, and they suggested that controversial changes to Bitcoin that others in the community disagreed and decided to take matters in their own hands. And guys, if you really want to get into the Monero space, Ricardo Spani used to have brilliant episodes, and he used to often give a lot of talks regarding privacy. Now, surprisingly, since the last few years, he has completely disappeared, but nonetheless, going back to the founders of Monero, it is believed that hundreds of developers have contributed to XRM over the years. Now, what makes Monero private? And this is what I really want you to focus on, because users shouldn't view all privacy cryptocurrencies as interchangeable or equivalent services because they don't achieve privacy in all the same way. For example, XRM or Monero should be considered as a technology when used properly obscures user data on blockchain, making it extremely hard to identify its users. So what is it that gives Monero value, guys? The secrecy and anonymity offered by Monero are what most users find extremely valuable. It gives people the freedom to conduct cryptocurrency transactions anytime they want for any purpose without being concerned about being watched by the government, hackers, or outside parties. And XRM coins cannot be traced, thus they cannot be blacklisted by businesses for alleged illicit connections. Now, investors who think that demand for privacy will rise in the future, raising the price of total market cap of XRM, may find value in Monero in addition to its use as medium of exchange. But look guys, this is one of the drawbacks as well, and I very specifically remember in 2016, I believe, where all of a sudden cryptocurrency exchanges were officially told by the government not to list Monero, and it is possible that governments all over the world can outright have a complete strict ban on cryptocurrency exchanges and tell them that you cannot buy or sell cryptocurrency that are backed by privacy. Now let me talk something about mining on Monero, because Monero still uses proof of work algorithm called as random X to validate transactions. and the method was introduced in November 2019 to replace the former algorithm called as Crypto Night R, and both were designed to be ASIC resistant. The Monero can be mined somewhat efficiently on consumer grade hardware such as, let's say, x86, x86 to 64, ARM, and GPUs, a design decision that was based on Monero's opposition to mining centralization that ASIC mining creates. However, it has also resulted in Monero's popularity among malware non-custodial miners, and guys, in October 2021, the Monero project introduced P2 Pool, a mining pool running on a sidechain that gave participants full control of their node as with solo mining configuration. Now let me try to give us some last bit of information on why is it that Monero is unique. Now there are several things that makes Monero unique. One of the project's biggest aims is achieving the greatest level of decentralization possible, meaning that a user doesn't need to trust absolutely anyone in the network, and guys, privacy is achieved through a few distinctive features, whereas each Bitcoin in circulation has its own serial number, meaning that cryptocurrency usage can be monitored. XRM, on the other hand, is completely fungible. By default, details about senders, recipients, and the amount of crypto being transferred are obscured, and Monero Advocate says that this offers an upper hand over rival privacy cons such as Zcash, which I'll touch base on tomorrow. And Zcash, guys, is selectively transparent, to be honest, guys, which is one of the drawbacks of Zcash. Now let me try to give us some more information on why Monero is unique. Obfuscation is achieved through the use of ring signatures, and here, guys, past transaction outputs are picked from the blockchain and acts as a decoy, meaning that outside observers can't tell who signed it. So let's say, guys, if Ozzy was sending 100 XRM to Tony, this amount can also be split into random chunks to add a further level of difficulty, and to ensure that transactions cannot be linked to one another, stealth addresses are created for every single transactions that are only used once. Guys, all of these distinctive features have led Monero being increasingly used for illicit transactions instead of Bitcoin, especially on the darknet as well. So governments all around the world, even the US government, have offered hundreds and thousands of dollars to anyone who can crack Monero's code, and unfortunately, guys, the code is so far uncrackable. Now, guys, let's discuss the king of all kings, that is Bitcoin. And the price of Bitcoin did actually pump up well over the $28,000 mark, but has gradually gone down. So the price of Bitcoin right now is $27,726, and since the last 24 hours, it is down by 1.36%, and since the last 7 days, it is up by 3.27%. Now, what I'm doing, guys, is I'm constantly keeping an eye on Kevin McCarthy's tweet to get an understanding of what is the finalization date of the US debt ceiling and what is the actual amount the US debt ceiling is going to be increased and when is it going to kick in. But once that news is out, guys, I'm pretty much sure this will have a positive impact, not just in the cryptocurrency world, but in the global economy as well. Now, Ethereum price is at $1,894, and Ethereum, guys, few hours ago did actually cross the $1,900 mark, and it was on the verge of barely touching the $2,000 mark, but unfortunately, it has ggone down, and since the last 24 hours, it is down by 0.81%, but since the last 7 days, it is up by 4.19%. Binance BNB coin is at $311. Since the last 24 hours, it is down by 0.80%. Since the last 7 days, so it is up by 0.65%. Now look, guys, in 2023, and maybe in the next coming years, central bank digital currencies are definitely going to be going mainstream, and the news is that the Bank of Japan has released the results of the second phase of its central bank digital currency project. It is called as Proof of Concept Experiment, and confirmed that a CBDC pilot project launched on schedule in April, and the second phase of Proof of Concept ran for a year from April 2022 to March of 2023 and considered functions to complement the basic ledger functions tested in the first year-long experiment. If you do want to find out more information, guys, on my LinkedIn page or in the show notes below, you'll got the official link, and Cointelegraph also has a summary of it. But let me try to give out some more information. So the Payment and Settlement System Department of the Bank of Japan conducted a project called as Proof of Concept or POC Phase 1 from April 2021 to March 2022, and thus the purpose of this phase was to create an experimental environment to test different design alternatives for a CBDC ledger, and the CBDC ledger serves as a foundation for a potential CBDC system, and the main objective was to evaluate whether the basic functions of the CBDC system could be processed effectively and accurately. And moving on to Proof of Concept Phase 2, which took place from April 22nd to March 2023, the Bank of Japan expanded its evaluation to include additional functions, and these functions, guys, were considered important to confirm the technical aspects as early as possible, and the Bank of Japan integrated these functions into CBDC ledger that was built during Phase 1, and the evaluation in Phase 2 focused on assessing the performance of processing these additional functions and determining their technical feasibility. Furthermore, guys, during Phase 2, the Bank of Japan explored the potential use of new technologies that were not considered in Phase 1. Specifically, they looked into how data models and databases could be optimized to enhance CBDC systems. By exploring these new technologies, the Bank of Japan aimed to find more efficient and effective ways to operate the CBDC ledger. It is important, guys, to know that the decision of whether or not to issue a CBDC in Japan should involve discussions among the Japanese public, and the Bank of Japan recognizes the need for public input and aims to facilitate these discussions to ensure a well-informed decision-making process. The Bank of Japan will continue thorough preparation. This also includes conducting technical experiments and staying adaptable to changes in circumstances. And guys, by conducting these experiments, the Bank of Japan can gather valuable insights and be prepared to respond appropriately to any developments or changes that they may arise, because I'm pretty much sure the learning from this will be implemented by other countries as well. And the experiment assumed 100,000 users with 5 intermediaries and looked loads of 500 and 300 transactions per second, with a discussion of increasing scalability. And guys, privacy was also considered throughout, but not discussed at length, and offline payments, guys, were discussed in context of fraud prevention and preservation of privacy. Now, the proof of concept were declared successful in achieving the desired results, and the results confirm that the Bank of Japan has moved on to a scheduled CBDC pilot project. And this pilot project, guys, will examine end-to-end process flow and further connections with external systems. Now, if you do want to find out more information, guys, I do have a session on the 2nd of June, so please feel free to register it. The session is completely free, of course. Now, so far as the news regarding the Bank of Japan is concerned, a CBDC forum will be created to gain insight from private businesses, and the Bank of Japan has stated that it will make a final decision on the issuance of central bank digital currency by the year end 2026. And look, guys, in the next coming years, central bank digital currencies will definitely go mainstream. So my big question to you guys is, once central bank digital currency goes mainstream, why would you want to use stable coins? And guys, listen, you always need to remember, stablecoin issuers do actually act as a role of a bank. Your transactions can be 100% censored. So personally, I really am not sure why would I want to use CBDCs. Now guys, let's discuss some news regarding Reddit. And the news is that Reddit onboarded 10 million users in its NFT ecosystem. Now, Reddit did actually launch its NFT in July of 2022, and the series of NFT tokens seemed to be loved by a large community as they were unique, affordable, and stored on one of the most secure blockchain platform, that is Polygon Matic. Now, if you do want to find out more information, guys, Daily Coin did actually provide a brilliant summary. So what they said, as per the report, is that Reddit counts almost 10 million NFT holders a year since Web3 push, and the most expensive Reddit avatar was actually sold for $50,000, and Reddit dished out around 2,000 NFTs a month since January of 2023. And one thing you need to remember, guys, that besides the 303,033 sales made already from the aforementioned NFT collections, Reddit joined forces with Ubisoft, which is a major video game publisher, guys. And in addition to the 1-year anniversary in Web3, Reddit just dropped Rabbit's NFT collection. As a matter of fact, guys, if you follow the link, there are step-by-step procedures on how you can claim it for free as well. So make sure that you follow that news. So make sure you go ahead and click that link. Now guys, let's discuss some news regarding the SEC versus the crypto world. And this news is that Gemini Trust Company and Genesis Global Capital filed a court document on May 26, 2023, seeking the dismissal of a lawsuit to U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, the regulatory body, that is the SEC, had accused the two cryptocurrency firms for offering unregistered securities. Now, if you do want to find out more information, guys, what I'd really urge you to do is read through the official court filings, because as per the court filings by the two companies, the lawyers argue that the SEC is attempting to transform the EARN program into something that it was never intended to be. So let me try to give you a brief history on what the drama is. So in January of 2023, guys, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission initiated a legal action against Gemini and Genesis which are two pioneering cryptocurrency companies, and the SEC accused them of offering unregistered securities to American customers, alleging that they had raised billions of dollars from hundreds and thousands of investors through their unregistered offerings. However, in a court filing on May 26, 2023, the lawyers representing Gemini and Genesis strongly argued that the SEC's complaint should be dismissed. Now, they contended that the Master Digital Asset Loan Agreement, also called as MDALA, association with Gemini's Earn program, should not be classified as a security, and the lawyers asserted that SEC was attempting to transfer the nature of Earn program into something that was never intended to be. And I very specifically remember, guys, where there was some news regarding Ripple and SEC, Gemini and Genesis were definitely happy about it, but nonetheless, going back to the news, Gemini and Genesis legal team claimed that MDALA does not meet the legal definition of a security for several reasons, and they emphasized that MDALA was never sold or offered for sale, meaning it was not made available to investors as a tradable asset, and they also emphasized that MDALA could not be traded on any secondary market, unlike traditional securities. Furthermore, guys, they argued that MDALA did not involve the transfer of ownership of any asset and did not require any lending or borrowing. Essentially, they are saying that MDALA was a loan agreement rather than a security offering. Now, what are your thoughts, guys? To be honest, once I'm reading to this, I do feel that some of the SEC judge might be right, but nonetheless, Gemini and Genesis disputed that SEC's allegations by pointing out that the regulator failed to provide specific evidence that the MDALA was sold to anyone or that any party offered to sell it. The dismissal motion claimed that SEC's complaint lacked non-conclusory allegations supporting their case. It is worth noting, guys, that the SEC's lawsuit against Gemini and Genesis is not an isolated incident. Prior to the bankruptcy filing of Celsius and BlockFi, two other interest-bearing crypto platforms, security officials from various states had already taken action against them. Despite these regulation actions, Gemini and Genesis remained steadfast in the stance that the MDALA did not meet the criteria to be classified as a security. Now, overall, guys, this legal dispute centers around the classification of MDALA associated with Gemini's own program, and guys, the outcome of this case will likely depend on how the court interprets the relevant statutory language and determines whether the MDALA qualifies as a security under existing security laws. Now, under existing security laws, guys, it looks absolutely black and white, and unfortunately, I'm definitely leaning more towards US Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, guys, let's discuss two news regarding Dubai, UAE, and the Middle East. And the first news is regarding Bitcoin Tower in Dubai, and the developers have shared the initial designs. So let me try to give us some more information. So Salvatore Leggero, an Italian visionary developer, has proposed the Bitcoin Tower, an architectural marvel in Dubai, and the hotel chain will incorporate cutting-edge technologies such as blockchain and artificial intelligence while emphasizing material sustainability. The project aims to celebrate the significance, prominence, and values of Bitcoin, and Garcia also addressed a gathering of Dubai-based Italian reality developers, interior designers, and technology enthusiasts to share the idea. And mind you, guys, this has not been approved yet, and once you get the approval, the Bitcoin Tower will be built in Dubai. Now, I particularly am not a fan of this, guys. It does seem extremely cheesy, extremely scammy. Why would you want to build the Bitcoin Tower? Imagine someone saying that you're trying to build, let's say, a US dollar building or a Great British Pound Tower building. It does sound extremely scammy, and it does sound really cheesy. But nonetheless, the hotel chain's unique approach involves considering the rental price of a suite as staking cryptocurrencies, generating an annual percentage yield for guests to redeem, and the Bitcoin Tower will be the first hotel not only to return the rental money, but also add interest. And guys, Metaverse Investment LLC is the investor of this initiative, reflecting the growing importance of cryptocurrencies. I absolutely do not like this news, guys, but the project offers an opportunity for people to experience and learn more about cryptocurrencies, and the CEO of the project believes it provides a revolutionary system for creating sustainable living with profit opportunities. And guys, the developer also invited artists, architects, creatives, futurologists, crypto enthusiasts to submit work depicting the Bitcoin Tower in the virtual universe, and the work will form an exclusive collection of NFTs dedicated to the design of the Bitcoin Tower. And guys, the NFTs will grant exclusive utilities and privileges to the physical tower, including profit-sharing opportunities, and renowned architecture Simone Shelley will create the first NFT for the Bitcoin Tower. and guys, Michelle expressed an initiative approach, creating virtual environments that enable unprecedented experiences. And the Bitcoin Tower will be a 40-story structure shaped like a Bitcoin, serving as an everlasting tribute to Bitcoin and Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, guys, if you see some of the buildings in Dubai, it is extremely possible that you might be able to create a building in the shape of Bitcoin, but it's going to be really interesting to see what the use cases, and the developer aims to bridge the gap between digital and physical real estate with this project, and the Bitcoin Tower is envisioned as a starting point for those who wish to participate in the real estate revolution. So my big question is, guys, how in the hell is the incorporation of cutting-edge technologies like blockchain and artificial intelligence benefit the Bitcoin Tower and vice versa? And what are the potential challenges or risks associated with implementing unique rental approach that considers the rental as taking cryptocurrencies for guests? This dwells into security token offerings, which I'm pretty much sure a lot of the developers are not even aware about of what they're getting into. But nonetheless, in Dubai, having a building in the shape of Bitcoin will definitely be cool. Now guys, let's discuss the second news, and this news is to do with artificial intelligence, and Abu Dhabi's Advanced Technology Research Council, also called as ATRC, is making its large-scale AI model Falcon 40B open source, and Falcon 40B is a foundational large language model, also called as LLM, with 40 billion parameters trained on 1 trillion tokens. And guys, the model was developed by the Technology Innovation Institute, a research center with ATRC, and ATRC's commercial investment arm called as Venture One will support viable ideas that come from using the Falcon 40B model, and TLL is providing access to models weights as a comprehensive open source package. Unlike many other language learning models, Falcon 40B, guys, will be available to both researchers and commercial users. Now, unfortunately, guys, this news does seem like extremely technical, so I'll try to break it down and try to keep it as much as simple as possible. Now, Abu Dhabi aims to contribute to the artificial intelligence community and accelerate the use of artificial intelligence technology, and Faisal Al-Banai, the ATRC Secretary General and their chairman, expressed a desire to support generative AI using various fields. The development of artificial technology in Abu Dhabi has been rapidly advancing in recent years, and Abu Dhabi has established companies such as G42 AI and Cloud Computing and the Edge Defense Technology Group, and Falcon 40B has potential applications in engineering, healthcare, suitability and coding. And look, guys, ever since the innovation and use case of ChatGPT, there's a lot of news surrounding artificial intelligence. We want the UAE to understand, guys, privacy concerns have arisen as AI products are rapidly being introduced globally, and Banai mentioned that deploying Falcon 40B on its own parameter ensures that they don't have access to the data used to train models. And Falcon 40B is part of technology industry development efforts in Abu Dhabi, and the aim is to avoid privacy violation, scams and misinformation campaigns associated with artificial intelligence technology. And TLL aims to foster the use of generative AI beyond chatbots, expanding into various sectors, and Abu Dhabi's initiative is seen as a significant stride in offering comprehensive access to large-scale AI model, and having it open source is absolutely brilliant. So those were the news, guys, from Crypto Incorporated from Blockchain DXB. In case you guys have any feedback or suggestions, drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com. Check out my website www.blockchaindxb.com, and also check out my website area2071.com that talks everything about Metaverse. And if you like listening to this podcast, guys, please click on the follow button, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. Now, for the next few minutes, it's going to be an Ask Me Anything series where you listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. So let's kickstart with the Ask Me Anything series. Hey everyone, it's George from Blockchain DXB. You're listening to the Ask Me Anything series where you listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. I have a question by Julio who asks, when do you think central bank digital currencies will be mainstream? To be honest, Julio, I've mentioned this thing several times in my past. I don't think that central bank digital currencies will be mainstream, at least in the next 2 to 3 years. I'm looking at least 5 to 8 years from now, where central bank digital currencies will be mainstream. Now, what is it that I mean by mainstream is that, let's say you're using central bank digital currencies to pay for your subscriptions such as, let's say, Netflix or Amazon Prime services. That is what I consider as mainstream. And let's say if you want to use it to buy groceries, that is what I consider as mainstream. So keeping all these things in mind, I do think it might take at least 5 to 8 years for central bank digital currencies to go mainstream. Now, could it happen much faster than that? I definitely do think it is possible as well. With the economic crisis that is going on right now, could it be possible that the government does make it legal and compulsory for people to use central bank digital currencies? And if the government can have mask mandate, I'm pretty much sure they can definitely force people to use central bank digital currencies. So it totally depends on the authoritarian style of the government. If they do actually want it, the entire thing can be done in maybe less than 6 months as well. So having an understanding of what government is actually in favor of open source and innovation and what are against open source and innovation is so critical. But let's say if you're living in an idealistic world, I would say 5 to 8 years down the line, but I wouldn't be surprised if the left-leaning administration in the US does actually force central bank digital currency. And Julie, I've mentioned this thing several times in my podcast. Left-leaning administration, left-leaning ideologies, and Democrats are not in favor of Bitcoin, are not in favor of open source, and they are definitely not in favor of freedom of speech as well. The left-leaning administration is heavily invested in central bank digital currencies. Now, could it be possible that they force this on the citizens? It is extremely, extremely possible. And if nothing happens, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes mainstream in maybe 6 months or maybe in a year's time or so. Right-wing politicians and right-wing ideologies or Republicans, on the other hand, are definitely in favor of Bitcoin. They are definitely in favor of people having control over their own money, and they actually are against central bank digital currencies. And in this session that I'm having on the 2nd of June, I'll actually go ahead and explore some of the Senate members who are trying to block central bank digital currencies, which I particularly like. And Julie, what I really like about your question is that it also takes into consideration when will cryptocurrencies go mainstream. Now, unfortunately, there are no similarities between cryptocurrencies and central bank digital currencies. It's completely different. So the session on the 2nd of June, I'll definitely go ahead and explore most of those news in detail. So those were the Ask Me Anything series, guys, on Blockchain DXB. In case if you have any feedback or suggestions, drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com. Check out my website www.blockchaindxb.com, and also check out my other website area2071.com that talks everything about metaverse. And if you like listening to this podcast, please click on the follow button, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. And remember, guys, Monday to Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. we have Crypto and Coffee Date, where we cover top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, pure blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and metaverse. And how the series of episodes in Crypto and Coffee Date works is we usually cover some top news and information pertaining to the price of cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well, news that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other news and information is related to Dubai, UAE and Middle East, and the world of Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and metaverse. And what you're listening to right now is the Ask Me Anything series. You listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and metaverse. So thanks so much for listening, guys, and have a nice one. Bye-bye.